Hi, and welcome to the Fierce Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Brigette. This is a podcast for those who are ready to leave behind survival mode after abuse, where we talk about what it looks like to embody who you are as an individual, learn to love yourself, and bring to light healing after surviving abuse from relationships and religion. Pop your earbuds in to hear heartfelt and powerful intensity from myself and guests. Be ready to put into place actual tools and gather insight for you to use on your healing journey. Hello, and welcome to the Fierce Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Brigette. I am so excited to be bringing you this podcast. This is my first episode. So I'll just kind of go over what my hopes are for this podcast, my story. I've already pre-recorded several episodes with some amazing guests. Because I'm a single mom of four, as you'll soon find out, and time is precious. So this podcast is going to be the hard stuff. My story consists of religious and romantic abuse, and so that's what we're going to be talking about. It is my familiarity. It is something that has brought me to where I am today. So my story is I grew up in a very strict religious home, lots of rules, lots of expectations, lots of certain do's and don'ts on how to live your life, the values you should hold, the role that women have in society and in the home. And so with that, I got married at a very young age of 22 and had nothing but hopes and dreams of being a wife, a mother with a dozen kids. And I thought that would be just absolutely everything that I could ever dream possibly happening to me. So I married my first husband, who was also a member of the same denominations that I grew up in and supposedly held those same values. I grew up largely thinking, how could anyone marry outside of their own religious thoughts? How could you dare know what somebody else thinks? And so it was a huge thing for me to be able to find somebody who loved me for me and wanted to marry me. And so we got married. I moved away again to an unfamiliar place, met some great people through my marriage. Some good things happened, but I knew before we were married that he had a pornography addiction. It was never explained to me how that would impact me. It was asked of me how, if I accepted that, if I was okay marrying him and going forward, knowing he had this problem, but it was never explained to me. Granted, I should have also asked, but naively did not know the ramifications of that kind of an addiction. So continued forward, I ended up having a couple of miscarriages. And then when I was pregnant with my son, he ended up being a medical baby. I found out at 20 weeks. And so that led us to move to Denver, Colorado for hospital. We had some amazing doctors. He's doing well. He's 8 years old now. Still has some surgeries in the future, but we've made it through the medical chaos of a heart baby in the hospital. So, but at that time, I was very scared that can I even have children? Can I have normal children? For those of you not watching using air quotes. And so, I wanted to be pregnant right away. So, I did. I got pregnant right away. Him and his sister are Irish twins, so they're 11 months apart. And during that time of being pregnant with her, our marriage was not doing well. I was feeling very insecure. I was not having my emotional needs met with having to cater to a baby in the hospital, a husband who didn't seem to care if I was home or not. Obviously, a lot of sexual issues going on. And I was asking a lot of questions. So my second child was 4 weeks early. So they were in the hospital at the same time for just a couple of days. Thankfully, she was right at the mark and healthy and happy, and I got to bring her home right away. But my son was in the hospital for another month after that. He eventually came home on a trach and a ventilator after his third open heart surgery. And very preoccupied with that. We ended up having nurses in the home. We ended up having all this kind of schedules things going on in our little 2-bedroom apartment. And, but it still wasn't good. We ended up arguing a lot. We argued a lot about He started, pulling the card if he was the man of the house and had the final says. And I don't even remember what they were about because I actually made all the decisions in the home. But I just remember being like, no, that's not right. I logically knew that. I logically knew that he was the man of the house and I was to submit to him, but he had no idea what was going on with our son medically. He had no idea where the finances actually were. And so, whatever the arguments were about, I had no voice, even though I was controlling everything. And so it was a lot. It was a lot. I was fighting against my own beliefs internally while trying to stick to my own beliefs and having these conversations of, can we just have a conversation about this? Can I just feel seen and heard? And not even knowing that's what I was asking. And so it eventually led, finally went to counseling, and we went to counseling for about 6 or 8 months. I ended up being pregnant again, because for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I did not know it was another girl at the time, but uh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But 8 months into that, he finally admitted to me that he had sexual desires towards our now 1-year-old daughter at the time. And that was enough for me. I knew that was the line in the sand for me. I knew that there was no way I was going to protect my children from that. There was no way I was going to suffer through that emotionally and mentally. There was no way I was going to put myself through any of that, along with all of the other problems we were already having. And so I played nice, and within a week I was gone. So that led to so many things on my healing journey that didn't happen for me. I never dated again for about 4 years. So that, held back a lot of growth as well. A lot of experiences I should have probably been having to retrain my brain around that. But in that, I was still so heavily in the religious group I was in. I still believed that, I was told that I shouldn't have been leaving him. I, had two churches telling me two different things. One didn't get on board until I talked to them more about how dire the situation was. And so, still just half foot in, and believing my role as a woman and my place in society and my place in the home and my place to submit to men and, all of that. And so I hampered my growth a lot because I wasn't open-minded enough to start questioning where the problems were coming from. And it wasn't until I started, I don't even know how algorithms and social media work sometimes, but till I started following some certain accounts and other women speaking up and talking about individual value and actually different translations of scripture and actually how the New King James was translated for certain things, and to give this thought that women are to submit, and just realizing so many things I grew up with that were actually very high religious abuse and thought process to keep people in their place and to keep people valuing very certain belief systems over the individual. Marriage is valued over the individual in the marriage. It's best to thrive for a marriage to stay together than what is actually going on with those two individuals. I grew up in the Quiverful movement, more kids the merrier, which my children are the biggest blessing that's ever happened to me. But that's not all there is to life. It's not all that there is to life is for a woman to get married and have babies. So, yeah, recognizing that and having the voice and being able to say that is a lot for me, even to this day, to call that stuff out, especially vocally. I can type and I can do all the things, but if you followed me on social media, I have not vocally said a lot of this stuff. But it's very true. It's very true. So Christ died for the individual. He did not die for a woman who's married or has children. And that's what we're fed. So, so I'm here. I'm here to be a voice. I'm here to start breaking the silence. I'm here to, in the progress, find my own voice as I do begin to speak out more verbally. I am a public speaker. I have spoke before, not particularly on this topic, but going forward, I do have a couple of keynotes I've put together that I'll be giving in 2024. I've done workshops in the past, and those of you who've known me know I'm a huge health fanatic. And so with Fritz's medical story that you heard, I know a lot. And so I have done multiple things with that as well. And speaking and writing, blogging, journaling, I have had 2 international best-selling books come out. I have a 3rd on the way later this year. It is me. It is who I am. And I'm here to hold that space for those who don't yet know they have a voice. If you are in any kind of situation like this, where you just know something is off with your marriage, your relationship, your environment, your church, your workplace, whatever it may be, just know you have a voice. You've always had a voice, and it's up to you when you want to decide to use it, and start asking in whatever way you know how for the things you need as an individual. Especially as women, and I know abuse happens a lot to men as well, but as women, we are told, family comes first, kids come first. We shove taking a shower aside. And when we do get it, we say we got some self-care in today. And it is the absolute worst thing we could do as women to help not only our husbands, men, but our children realize the individual needs of every person. And that's what I'm here to change. Even just that value, that worth you see in yourself as a woman. You are so much more valuable. I can guarantee you, because every woman does it. You are so much more valuable than you think you are right now. You are 10 times more valuable than you think you are right now. And whatever it is you think you have to sacrifice, whatever things you don't deserve right now, you deserve it and so much more. And I'm here to tell you, you can go out and you can get it, and you can create that life for yourself. And that doesn't matter if you are single, whether you have a dozen kids in tow, whether you're married, whether you're dating, whether you're whatever. As an individual, we all deserve to have the life that is nagging at us. And if you have a supportive partner, if you have a supportive family, if you have a supportive environment, supportive culture around you, it won't matter which direction that takes you. You can go out and get it, and they will be right there helping you. So that's my goal. That's my goal for this podcast. That's my goal in speaking out. And this podcast may evolve over time and topics may change, but those my goal. My core goal is to let every single woman know how valuable she is, and that she does not have to set her life aside for any other person, any more than any man does, any more than any child does. Yes, there are things we have to sacrifice at times, but those are not excuses. Those are not excuses to having an overall life goal and what you want out of life. And if you even if your goal is to just be a wife and a mom, and I say just because that is a fucking hard job, but you still deserve a shower without calling it self-care. So like I said, several guests coming up. Oh my gosh, these women, they talk about so much. They're talking about overcoming suicide in a family, overcoming depression, anxiety, marriages, religious upbringing, overall mindset empowerment, to give us all so much tools. I've had some amazing conversations. So excited to share these guests with you. You'll hear from yours truly a couple times in between those. And yeah, I'm so excited to just bring some thoughts and questions, and to get more people thinking about and questioning what we have done traditionally and why we do it, and what's the root of it, and how it plays out in our lives today, and how we even thought it played out in the past versus how Hollywood has portrayed it to us, right? So I hope you find so much value in this podcast. I know I'm going to, just from the women I've talked to. And I hope you can listen in, follow, subscribe, share whatever you can, because there is another, even if this isn't you and it's not resonating with you personally, there is someone sitting next to you who is having the same struggle. It's very, very common. So, all righty. Well, thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode of the Fierce Boys podcast. Thank you for joining us today on the Fierce Boys podcast. I truly hope you found healing insights, tools, and a space held for you in this journey. We are all in this together, and you are not alone. You can find me, your host, Brigette Gildemaster, on all social media platforms, and check out my website at www.brigittegildemaster.com, where you can listen to past Fierce Voice episodes, check out my media features, find my books, and inquire about booking me for your next virtual or in-person event. My keynotes are impactful with real-life stories, actionable tools, and inspiration for healing after a life-altering experience. Or check out my workshop event to learn more about how you can prevent abuse in your area. Have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you next time on the Fierce Boys podcast.